The devotional content of the following Montyman's Meditorial is provided by Dale and Juanita Ryan and the National Association for Christian Recovery. Copyright 2017, all rights reserved. For a free download of any of our shows, visit us at take12radio.com and click on Follow Me on Podomatic.
Well, greetings, everyone. It's the Montyman on this week's Montyman's Meditorial. Did you know that God accepts our limited resources? Now, I'm going to read from Matthew 14:17 through 18, and it states, "We here have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish." They answered. "Bring them to me," he said. Who's he? Well, God. Sometimes after reading the newspaper or watching the news on television, I experience an intensely painful awareness of the enormity of the world's problems and the hopeless inadequacy of the resources available to solve these problems. How about you? Well, during recovery, we often experience these same feelings of helplessness and inadequacy. Our personal problems seem enormous. Our resources seem incredibly limited. We're going to need resources more extensive than our own to make any progress in recovery. Well, fortunately, God has a long and consistent history of working with people who have limited resources. It has been God's consistent pattern throughout the biblical record. God's preference is to bring strength out of weakness. The abundance which God brings from a few loaves and fishes is a clear sign of the surprising resource fullness of God. In a reversal of all of our expectations, Jesus invites us to bring our limited resources to Him. When we see how few loaves and fishes we have, we become convinced that our needs for nourishment will not be met. And we conclude there will be nothing left over to share. But hopelessly limited resources somehow turn into abundance when they are offered to God. There is enough for us and enough to share. Each day, one day at a time, God accepts our limited resources and surprises us with what He can do and does. Well, here's my prayer. I am hungry, Lord. I have not been getting the nourishment I need. What I have is so limited. A few loaves, a few fish. There's just not going to be enough to go around. I cannot imagine what use they will be. But I make my limited resources available to you, God. Accept my limited resources, Lord. I bring them to you for your blessing. Amen. So are you feeling inadequate? You feel like you just don't have enough to keep going? Lay them at the feet of your Creator, and He will receive them, and through your weakness, He will give you strength. Until our next broadcast, this is the Montyman, and I am wishing God's perfect serenity for you.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.